Okay.
Then let me give you the scientific part. That's why I'm here. So the study came out that if men ejaculate 4 to 7 times a month, they have 30% increased risk of prostate problem. But if they get up to 18 to 21, their prostate risk disappears. And so now tell me, what would you do? What if I'm your brother? What if I'm just your son?
Okay.
What would be your
Interesting.
argument?
All right. Buckle up for a deep dive, you guys, into something that'll really get you thinking.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking men's health, specifically prostate health.
Okay.
And we're looking at this really lively debate from a Nigerian talk show called Your View. And there's this doctor on there, Dr. Rasheed Abbasi, and he's making some waves with his claim that men need to be ejaculating, get this, 21 times a month for optimal prostate health.
21, right.
21, yeah. So
That's quite a number. That's sparking a lot of conversation, I bet. Not just about the science, but culturally, religiously.
Absolutely. Yeah, the female hosts on the show were not shy about their opinions on that recommendation.
Yeah, I bet.
So we're going to break it all down for you. What's the actual science behind his claim?
Yeah.
What are the implications, societally, personally, especially for men and women in relationships?
Big questions, for sure. Well, Dr. Abbasi's kind of whole argument boils down to this. Frequent ejaculation.
Yeah.
We're talking 18 to 21 times a month.
Okay.
Can reduce a man's risk of having prostate problems. And on the flip side, he suggests that if you're not ejaculating as much,
Right.
4 to 7 times a month, you could be increasing your risk.
I see. So it all ties back to the testosterone and DHT.
Right. Testosterone converting into DHT.
Which can then feed the prostate. Yeah.
Exactly. Stimulate prostate growth.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Dr. Abbasi, he compares ejaculation to exercise for the prostate.
Ah, okay.
So it's you got to work it out to keep it healthy.
Yeah.
Kind of regulating that, that hormonal dance.
Yeah, it's like a hormonal workout.
Right. And he makes this really interesting comparison to women and their cycles, driven by estrogen.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Think about it. After menopause, estrogen production drops, right?
Yeah.
And women often experience changes in their sexual activity, like a natural hormonal shift.
Okay.
And then he brings in the study. He really emphasizes that it was conducted by women.
Okay.
And it found a correlation between ejaculation frequency and prostate health.
Interesting.
And, people are probably thinking, well, what are we supposed to do about this?
Right.
So he offers some solutions. And this is where things get kind of...
spicy.
Yeah. A little spicy, a little controversial.
Yeah.
He suggests polygamy.
Whoa. Okay.
Which is something that is accepted, in Nigeria, culturally.
Well,
But he does say there could be some moral objections to that.
yeah. I mean, that's where those cultural and religious values clash.
Big time.
Yeah.
It's not just about science, is it?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So how did the female hosts react to all this? Because I know they had some thought.
Oh, they push back for sure
Yeah.
on the science and on the morals.
Yeah.
But get this, one of them actually agreed with him
Interesting.
based on her family.
Oh, wow.
She said her grandfather practiced polygamy and lived to be 106.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is quite the anecdote.
It is, right. It just shows you how personal experience can color our perspectives. But one story isn't exactly a trend, right?
Right, of course.
But, the other hosts had some really tough questions like, should men feel pressure to go find other partners
Yeah.
if their wives aren't up for, 21 times a month?
Yeah.
They also brought up the potential downsides to polygamy, like STDs,
Right.
paternity disputes.
Right. That definitely adds another layer of complexity to it.
Definitely. And that's really where the heart of this debate lies.
Yeah.
You've got Dr. Abbasi with his scientific perspective, and then you've got the hosts with their emphasis on morality, societal norms.
It's a real clash of viewpoints for sure. So how did that all play out?
Oh, it got heated.
Back again, and it's pretty clear from part one, this is way more than just a scientific debate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about people's beliefs, cultural norms, and how those intersect with what the science is saying.
It's almost like, how do you reconcile scientific evidence with your own personal values?
Right, exactly.
It's not just about an individual choice either.
Yeah.
This has ripple effects out to relationships, to families, to society.
Totally. What really struck me was Dr. Abbasi's focus on this very specific number.
Yeah. The 21.
Yeah, 21 ejaculations per month.
It's very specific.
It's very specific. if we just take that at face value, how does that even play out in real life? Like, could this lead to like unrealistic expectations on men?
Oh, for sure.
Or even pressure?
I mean, think about it. Like, how do you communicate that in a relationship? You got to be open, honest.
Yeah.
To navigate those waters, to make sure everyone is,
Satisfied.
Yeah, satisfied.
Right.
Intimacy is not just about hitting some target.
Right. And then what about like the potential for people to misuse this information? Like almost using it to justify bad behavior.
Oh, yeah.
Or make men feel inadequate if they're not
Totally.
Living up to that number.
That's why it's so important to be like a critical thinker.
Yeah.
You can't just blindly accept or reject this.
Right.
You have to evaluate, like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
What could the biases be? What's the context here?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's important to remember this is just one doctor.
Right.
One
perspective.
Yeah.
We need more research.
Yeah, for sure.
To back this up.
Right. And, just saying that, like, ejaculation frequency is the be-all end-all for prostate health, it feels kind of simplistic.
Totally.
Doesn't it?
It's like, it's so much more,
Yeah.
diet, exercise, stress.
Yeah.
That all plays a role.
Your whole lifestyle.
Absolutely. A healthy lifestyle. It's not just one thing.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of nuances, like we were talking about, what age men become sexually active. Oh, right.
Dr. Abbasi suggested that like an earlier start could be beneficial in the long run.
But I mean, that needs more looking into, right?
Right. It's a sensitive area.
Yeah, there's ethical considerations.
And you can't just say that because two things are correlated, that one causes the other.
No, not at all. Correlation, not causation, right?
Exactly. Exactly. One thing I found super fascinating was how they talked about fasting.
Oh, yeah.
Often for religious reasons, and how that could actually impact hormones.
It's so interesting, right? Because it shows you how interconnected everything is, like your spiritual practices, your physical health, your relationship, like it's all intertwined.
And that's why it's so important to make informed decisions, right?
Right.
To know the benefits and the risks.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Understanding, like, the science of our bodies.
Right.
Empowers us to make good choices.
Totally.
But, we can't forget that science isn't always black and white. No.
Right.
There's so many gray areas.
There are gray areas, there are conflicting studies, there are ongoing debates.
You got to stay curious,
Right.
Open to different views.
Yeah.
Always learning.
And that's why I think these deep dives are so interesting.
Me too.
Because it's not just about presenting facts.
No.
It's about exploring these ideas, asking questions, encouraging people to think critically.
So as we head into the last part of this, we're going to shift gears a little.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the big picture.
Okay, you're right.
The societal impact of promoting these health recommendations.
Yeah.
How do these conversations shape our understanding of masculinity, of relationships,
Right.
the future of men's health?
This is great stuff. Stick with us. We've gone like all over the place with this deep dive, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
From science to culture to morals, personal stories, everything just seems so connected.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's such a complex web, when you're talking about health and well-being.
It's not just a straightforward answer, especially like with something this sensitive.
Yeah, for sure.
So like looking back on everything we've talked about, what really stands out for you?
I think for me, it's that we can't just look at the science in isolation.
Right.
You have to consider people's beliefs,
Right.
the culture, their own values. Yeah. All that plays into how we understand and apply this information.
Yeah. It's interesting, this whole thing really kind of challenged some of those traditional ideas about masculinity.
Right.
This whole idea that men have this crazy sex drive and they need to be like constantly fulfilling it.
Oh, yeah. That stereotype can be so damaging.
Yeah, it can create unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
Lead to pressure, shame.
Totally. Making men feel inadequate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that men's health isn't just about the physical stuff.
No?
You got to think about the emotional, the mental well-being too.
And communication and relationships, that's huge.
Oh, huge, huge. Healthy relationships are about respect, understanding, and being able to talk about these things, even when they're tough.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in the end, it comes down to choice.
Yeah.
Each person has to weigh the information, think about their values,
Right.
and make the best decision for them, for their life.
Absolutely. This whole conversation kind of makes you think about health recommendations in general.
Yeah.
Do we always prioritize the science even when it clashes with people's beliefs?
Right.
Or is there a way to find that balance?
Where you're considering the whole person, not just the data.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about this topic.
Right.
It's vaccinations, it's nutrition, it's mental health care, it's everywhere.
It's about finding that sweet spot between the science and our own freedom to choose.
Yeah, I think that's really what this deep dive has shown us.
It's about critical thinking, respecting other viewpoints, and just being open-minded.
We just scratched the surface here.
Barely.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
How do you balance the science with your own moral compass, your cultural background when you're making choices about your health?
It's not an easy question.
It's not easy at all, but it's so worth asking.
It is. It is.
Keep exploring, keep the conversation going. Talk to your friends and family about this stuff.
Stay curious. Stay informed.
Informed decisions are key to a good life.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time.